And we'll be off. So tonight's tutorial, a sad old card, 5 of Cups, and the 5 of Cups is a card of loss, grief, unhappiness, loss, grief, trauma, feeling bereft of so many different things. Hi passionate Sachi, how are you? Are you okay? I'm trying to lock my overlay. Wonderful to see you. Are you feeling any better? Are you all right? Lovely that you're along. So pleased that you could actually join us. Okay, so 5 of Cups, yeah, a card of disappointment and regret, and shows a man grieving over 3 overturned cups as the contents have felt as if they have been spilt and lost. The man is standing facing away from us, isn't he? And his shoulders are hunched over, heads down, looking very defeated, as if he's actually submitting to his loss. And if we look at his hair, it's dark grey, and there's a reason for me mentioning that. You're feeling much better. That's great. I read today, I think it was on Google, that, yeah, there's another big time of COVID. So I'm glad that you're well. I really, really am. And best wishes to you. Do take care of yourself, because I know that it's one of those things where I think that people can actually feel better and find that they are very, very tired in the consequence of getting over it. So give yourself plenty of time to actually recoup. So this man's got dark grey hair, and it's showing that there's deep contemplation, and it's consuming him. Looks as if he's grieving. All his thoughts are linked to a situation, and it's of the emotional kind, because of course we've got the Suit of Cups. So it's echoed by this grey sky in the cards here. And he's got this long black cloak, which is a sign of mourning, sign of death, as he is standing there bereft of any hope. So what he has lost is profoundly affecting him, and he's got to lead himself to retreat into a time of being able to heal. I'm sure it is. I think that, you know, everyone says that it's an incredibly difficult one to actually try and get over. So yeah, I can understand that. So yeah, take your time. Hopefully you'll be on the mend sooner rather than later. Okay, and anyone else that's watching, if you're feeling poorly, you know, our best wishes to you also. So he's been affected profoundly by loss, and while he may not yet see it, the black of his cloak, believe it or not, although it's a sign of death and mourning, it also symbolises potential that can come from sorrow. Black is the colour of potential, where we can actually get that from some of our sorrow. And this sorrow is all about him looking at the lens of reality as he sees the situation. So he's seeing these events and circumstances through his own lens. It may not be the lens that's accurate. He's got brown boots on, and that actually will ground him. And if we look, we've got 3 cups lying down, turned over, and showing the emotional potential spilt onto the ground. Blood is flowing from 2 of those cups, and then there's some green liquid at the front of the other one, and the blood shows the pain of the heart, and that's an emotional loss, an emotional attack that's left him feeling very injured. And the green can link to the heart chakra, showing deep emotional, spiritual paths that he has yet to consider. But this is still a loss that's cutting him deeply on so many levels. And green can also show jealousy and envy, while the red liquid represents both passions, guilt, shame, which might be part of the loss that he's feeling. So the man might be feeling as if he's a victim, as equally he could. But you know what? Maybe he's the wrongdoer. We don't know, do we? There's no signs in this card as to whether he is upset because of what he's done or upset because of something that has gone beyond his control in that loss. So this card is a reminder that all is not lost, because 2 of the 5 cups are standing behind him, and they're upright, and they show hope, and it's demonstrated by a lot of things that's coming out from this card. And when we look at that, we can actually see, I'm going to just move my light a little bit, okay, we can see that there's so many things in this card that's got potential. And one of those is the river, and the river is running in front of him, and it's fast moving. It's got water, and the water is moving fast, symbolizing the upset, the turbulent emotions that he's facing. And although he's looking down at the cups, and I'm going to point out why the water is significant in a minute, each glance that he goes upwards means he might see his emotions are moving, and that, you know, he's not yet turned his back on his losses. Being fast moving, it's difficult for him to navigate that riverbank to get to the castle. So that's going to force him to take that bridge over there on the right hand side. And that bridge is helping him deal with the issue. Or he's got the choice of staying put, which he might want to do at the moment. Who knows? The bridge is a way for him to move on from the problems, because it's going to offer him more hope through reconciliation, and a time for him to mend his bridges. And that bridge is connecting 2 locations from one side to the other. And bridges bring people together, don't they? They help people that have been separated by location. And with this being the number 5, I would say to you all, in tarot, the number 5 is always about struggles. 5 of Swords is a struggle, communication, thoughts, and 5 of Cups is no different. We're struggling, and the struggle this time is the emotions. So anything is possible, but if he looks, he can see on his right, and that's his emotional self. Some healing will help him get into this place where this emotional realization is very much needed to see the opportunity of the 2 cups that still stand there. And it's not about it's coming, they're there. And in this original picture, there, you know, we've got different sort of views with different decks. So some have got green grass, and some have got, it's a bit muddy before you get to the green grass. In this particular one, it just shows that a couple of steps and he's on green grass. So baby steps, but it only takes that. Why is the green so important? Because green is the universe supporting us. It's our chakra, where the universe provides that love and support whenever we want it to be. And yes, the grass may be greener on the other side because the castle's there. And so we've got to look at the fact that he's got to be ready to do this. And if it goes over the bridge, yeah, he's going to have to take a longer route than just crossing river, because it's moving too fast for him to do that. So he will have to take more steps, but that might help him. And so that longer route might help him in his healing journey. And as soon as he takes that first 1 or 2 steps, the healing journey will begin. And regardless, if we look, there is, the grass is not flat, it's uneven. So we've got this hilly ground indicating that it's a path that requires us to focus and be careful in the way that we travel to get to that bridge. So, you know, although there's a bridge, we've got to be ready, and we've got to be able to deal with how we are mourning the loss of something that was seriously quite joyful to us. that we actually loved and cared about. So over the bridge is the castle, and that's safely awaiting him once his situation is realised. And the castle symbolises his home, his well-being, his security. And that's what the river is doing. It's separating him from all of that. Now, he might feel as if that's a long way off, or he's a long way from home, and he's disengaged with all his life. Yet, if he looks up, he can see that everything is still there, and getting back to this place could bring him happiness. You know, it's a goal to work towards, one that he is missing at the moment because he needs to focus on his loss, whatever his reasons are. And the 2 upright cups indicate that although there's been this loss, the future's waiting right now. And that's also mirrored in the moving water. That's why the water's running the way it is, for that to happen. So this tells us that life doesn't stop regardless of upset and hurt. It doesn't, you know? And so this is not a stagnant card. Things are changing already here. And so the 2 of Cups represents balance, connection, and a unity, just like the 2 of Cups did. So the 3 of Cups, you know, if we remember when we did the 3 of Cups, it's all about the joy and the party and the celebrations and being with a group of people that you really want to be with. And the 2 of Cups is about making a connection with somebody. So if you look at it like that, he's dwelling on, oh, I want to be back at the party, or maybe, you know, it's just a point because the 3 of Cups are there, the 2 of Cups is there. I'm not saying it's not about the fact that this could be an emotional grief journey for him. We know that. So the 2 cups represent balance, connection, unity, just as the 2 of Cups when we saw it earlier. But he's ignoring it. He's not ready. And in this grief, he does not seem to be able to see it because he's focusing on the loss of the 3 of Cups, where he was in a happy situation and everything was gorgeous and wonderful, and, you know, why can't every day be happy? So the 2 upright cups show hope in repairing the situation, and they show us that there is something there to salvage. You know, we're lucky enough to be able to salvage that, and it might not have the wild passion of the 3 of Cups, but a lesson is learned, and we can't be at a party all the time, and situations, you know, do need to be more mature and much more stable and secure. We can't always have that carefree, joyful party with the people that we desperately want to be around. I'm going to take a sip of water, okay? Right. What do we have? You know, we've got times like this where we need to give ourselves time to mourn the loss and gather our thoughts and pain and heal, and there could be a million reasons for it. And the emotional loss shown in the 5 of Cups leaves us very hurt, very upset, and very lost. But it will also give us a chance to challenge the situation when we're ready to retrieve something from that loss. Sometimes we need to simply freeze for a while so that we can do some soul searching and see how we feel about that and process those feelings. Because if we don't, it has a way of biting you somewhere else later on, doesn't it? You know that. And he can move away from the regrets when he realizes that life offers him another chance to enjoy. And he'll carry the 2 remaining cups over the bridge, that new connection that's already there, because it's a new future. But first he has to seek a resolution with the 3 spilt cups. And we've all heard that expression, you know, spilt milk. This is a card that I would say, yeah, it's known as a spilt milk card. But also when we look at it, we go, crikey, has somebody had a bereavement? And quite honestly, they could have. So he'll be able to feel the sting and the pain that can't be avoided when we go through something of mourning and feeling that we are bereft. And it's true, when we miss somebody, we look back on the joy, the happy times. It's just inevitable, isn't it? So number 5 is always about struggles in tarot, but it's also about truth, communication and analysis. And it's also about tearing in numerology. In my class, my professor, he taught us that it's very much not just about a struggle, but about the fact that you take it apart and you dismantle something and you rebuild. And that's perfect for this card, because we may need to take each piece of our emotions apart in order to be able to rebuild. And grief is a very, very different thing for each individual. And even with the individual, having experiences, losses myself, some of them knock you sideways and you don't know why you felt that one so painfully, like death of a beloved family member, friend, pet. But some of them just knock you sideways and you're just not expecting it to go like that, and it will catch you, and you've got to have that time to be able to process how you feel. And so the focus in this card that I'd like you to actually really look at is, it's not about the solutions in the 5 of Cups. This is about the upset. So the focus on if this card comes out, focus very simply is, it's about how upset that person is, not about trying to find a solution. And we know sometimes that there isn't always a solution, is there? We can't bring something back. If it's gone, it's gone. Whether it's actually left physical world, as it's no longer on the planet, or whether it is a case of that person has decided to continue their journey and life path without us. So regret doesn't change anything, and yet all upsets need time to heal, and we need to accept it and move on. Yep, having to deal with the situation, that's exactly what this is about. It's allowing yourself the time to grieve, to deal with it, and not to feel that you're not allowed that time to process. So, we can't offer a solution. Somebody might turn around and go, gosh, I really need to talk. And it's because, the worst thing that could have ever happened to them is they've lost someone special, whether it's a physical loss or a death. It can be a physical death or a physical loss that the person has decided to go traveling and they don't want the relationship. They want to see what's there for them without that person, and it's very painful. It's still a loss, of course. So we can't, regret things, and we can allow ourselves to have that time to be upset, because we need to heal. And when we heal, we'll be able to accept it, and we'll be able to move on. We may not be able to change it. People say, I feel that loss every single day. You may. But it fades a little. It fades a little. And there's no point beating yourself up over what's gone before you, because you can't change the past. So if this is, I wanted to be with that person, we had so much fun, so much joy, we celebrated, we had fun. We've got to focus on salvaging what's left, because it's not the end. You've got to navigate that bump in the road. And the 5 of Cups shows us the effect of an emotional loss. Circumstances can change deeply within relationships or in a specific situation, and these changes will bring feelings of loss, regret, anxiety, panic over what's been lost, as well as observing every other word and action that you can remember from that loss. I remember when they said this, we almost do it to ourselves, don't we? We can be feeling that we're feeling betrayed by our own actions or others. We can feel so very alone. And that leads to worry over past actions and a reluctance to accept changes that are now presented. So there's a tendency to think about what went wrong, isn't there, when this happens, instead of what life could be. We actually go, oh gosh, what went wrong there? And instead of kind of going, well, life could be this, like that person that's decided to go off and travel. And so I don't want the relationship. I want to see, if I go off to China on a slow boat, I want to see who I meet there. And if you're with me, it doesn't feel right. I want to be able to do this on my own and see what life brings. And that's very, very painful because we're left feeling rejected. We're left feeling behind. And so there's a tendency to go, gosh, what did I do wrong? Instead of actually, how good is it for me to go off, and I've used this one before, take yourself off and go to a show, go to the cinema, go and have a coffee, have what you want to eat, somewhere that's safe and somewhere that you like, and somewhere where you don't have to fit in somebody else's time, oh, can we go at this time? You might want to go at lunchtime or in the evening or, first thing in the morning for breakfast. We don't focus on what can be, i.e. having that freedom. And that freedom, of course, is actually allowing us to look at the fact that 2 of Cups is already in our life. We just can't see it because we've got to process this. So it's all about the upset, isn't it? And the dust might settle and then we'll think we're fine. And then it can be that everything gets topsy-turvy again. But we can't regain what we had. Can't go back there because it'll be in a different format even if we could. Say that person comes back. Well, the odds are different now, aren't they? They're stacked differently. Things have changed. And we need to know, how we view them. How is life now without that element of that? And so the emotional breaks that the 5 of Cups brings aren't permanent because life goes on. And so this is where the expression comes into this card being, we feel like we are crying over spilt milk, and that's because the cups are down and the liquid's out. So this is a card that shows us that situations can be repaired if we come to terms with what's occurred. It might be a simple argument, a lover's tiff, a major separation. And when it comes to separations, it can be temporary, might be a relationship, complete breakup. And we can't see what's ahead of that, can we? We can only focus on rejection and how we feel and the loss of that person and the joy of how everything was so wonderful with them in our lives. Yet it can also be that people can, I figure, possibly, is fixated on the old relationship and trapped in that cycle of negative spiraling thoughts rather than taking action. It's because they're not ready. Feelings must be dealt with in order to make or break a situation. And if we can work with those feelings, then we can experience a deeper relationship that's going to come in with those 2 of Cups, teaching one or both of the partners much more about each other, because it is a relationship loss this. We are mourning something. It could be the relationship of we're mourning the loss of, a career. I can't see the bright side of anything. I was so happy when I was in my career and now I'm retired and, I can't see what's in front of me, how much joy, how much I wanted this. There is a relationship with something if it's not someone, okay? And, it's like many callers would phone and say they just couldn't get over the loss of a friend, companion. It wasn't always romantic, wasn't always, the family, mum, dad, auntie, uncle. It was those that knock you sideways who don't see it coming. So, people just they know you can't fix it, but they do need to actually be able to process and talk about it freely enough to be able to experience that healing. So, of course, it may not just be the romantic relationship and notion. Let's do a couple of key words. Unfortunately, I haven't got my PDF on here tonight. Doesn't seem to have come up for me, so I'm sorry about that. So I'll read them out for you. There's quite a lot, so maybe that was why. Okay, so with the Five of Cups, we're in a position of looking at unhappiness, loss, grief, trauma, feeling bereft. Mourning, we're sad, we despair, deep sorrow, we can feel heartbroken, we feel broken, it's a painful time, we feel inconsolable, even unstable at times. There is guilt, there is shame, there is remorse, there is regret, there's self-blame, emotional baggage. It's exactly what that is. We wallow. We focus on the past. And that's what this card's about. Focusing on the past emotions. Focusing on the loss. Feeling deflated. Feeling the separation. Feeling abandoned. Lonely. Isolated. And sometimes a deep anger. And so when we see this figure cloaked with the bowed head and the hunched shoulders and his back to us, showing, he's not paying attention, isn't it? His body's collapsed into him like that. And his heavy black cloak immerses him in grief, sadness and despair. So you're getting it now. The fives are all about struggles, aren't they? Five of Swords, difficult. Five of Cups. I tell you, Five of Wands, battles there, Five of Pentacles when we get to them. So let's note the westerly direction that our figure's facing. That's telling us when somebody faces that way, probably doesn't come out right on camera, west, it symbolises they're focused on the past. And on the ground in front of him and facing west are the three overturned cups with their contents spilled, because they are in the past. And so the red pools beneath the Two of Cups may simply be wine, or they might symbolically represent blood. We don't know. The third pool of green is supposed to represent the earth, symbolising the loss of his stability and possibly of something that's tangible, i.e. of a physical nature. And don't forget that, I talked about green in the beginning of this tutorial, that it's the primary colour of the heart chakra, which keeps us very balanced and at one with the world. And in the Ace of Cups, when we did that card, we got a glimpse of the potential of the cup that's overflowing with love and peace and joy and happiness. But now the chakra, the cup is our chakra that's been broken. So they are the overturned cups. Okay, so Ace of Cups comes in peace, joy, love, harmony, happiness. Now the cup, which is our heart chakra, is broken, damaged. And that's represented by the overturned cup. It doesn't matter why, and it doesn't matter that we can't fix it. We just know now that the contents are left to seep away into the ground. So now the heart is empty and grows very cold. So the loss and the sadness could be unbearable. And he is probably pulling back. And he's got that cloak round him. And he just wants to be at one with his sadness, grief, and suffering. And the 2 cups that are standing behind him are facing east, suggesting that all is not lost. Because although he's experienced loss and terrible change, something valuable still remains. These cups bridge the gap between the past and the future. That's what this card's about. But he needs to be made aware of the presence of what they're offering. And he's just uninterested because he's bereft and wants the 3 of cups back. So the 2 standing cups may be the opportunities for friends and family to offer support and help. And these cups might also be the chance to offer healing. But they're cold comforts and of no consolation to our figure. And at this moment in time, the figure's clothed in the black darkness of his situation, his depression and negativity. He's not interested in being drawn out or coaxed away from his sorrow, and he might even get angry at those that even try, even if their hearts are in the right place. How could they possibly understand his pain and grief? And so he closes off from the world around him for a little while to actually wallow in his sorrow, and it can grow and grow. And he just wants to be left on his own and be able to focus on that. Sometimes we do need to do that, but we've got to be careful about we don't make a habit of it, perhaps. We allow it that and we go, okay. He's not able, perhaps not getting the right advice on that, is he? So the 2 remaining cups will stay, and they're standing there, regardless of whether he wants them or not. They're not going anywhere. And so they're eager, the 2 cups are eager for him to move into the future. So they'll patiently wait while he's got this present, which is very dysfunctional, until he's ready. So the 2 of cups are wise, and they know no matter how bad he feels, now this time too will pass, and that pain will become more accessible to bear. It might melt away and fade away altogether. So the figure in 5 of Cups has in some way got to go through this before he's open to such an understanding or an acceptance. When he's ready, the bridge is there in the background. That'll take him his safe passage back to his life and his stability and his castle. And it bridges the gap between the past and the future. So the bridge appears to be far away in the background, indicating how far away the figure is from emotional and physical stability. Unlike the 2 of Cups that stand very firm behind him, he's not yet aware of their existence. But one day he'll lift his head and make his way slowly when he's ready. And that river that's running beside him, he can't cross that, but that is symbolized by the bridge that's helping him deal with crossing over the stream, and the stream or the river is his emotions. So that's why he's not going over the bridge, because the water is, we can see that is not a little steady stream. It's not calm water. It looks like it's fast moving. And so therefore he needs to actually deal with that river, which represents how he feels. And he's not ready to leave that behind yet. So the current is very strong in that river and is reflected by the overwhelming strength of his emotions at the present time. But remember that water is also emotion and is cleansing by nature. So if it allows him his painful emotions to flow outwardly and express them rather than repress them, he'll feel much lighter from within. He must let his tears and words flow. And even his tears of anger, regret and shame, and I'm sorry, I don't know, but they do say there's many stages of grief. If anybody wants to type that in for us and tell us what that actually is. You know, I know there's some of them, I wouldn't know the order, but they do talk about that. You know, we go through a period of getting angry. So don't be surprised, you know, if you come across somebody who's grieving something or mourning the loss of something, that they are also angry. And they have to stand and do what they need to do in a grounded way for them. It makes sense to them. And so that might involve forgiving someone or asking for someone to forgive them. Maybe we need to forgive, you know, ourselves. Maybe he needs to forgive himself. So when he's ready, he'll return to everyday life, and it might then be all that water, i.e. that emotion, is water under the bridge. And you see we've got these sayings and where they may or may not come from, yeah? So bridge is, you know, connection, to connect people back together again. He's not ready. Doesn't want to go back to his life in his castle, in his home, you know, his security. And the castle in the far background sits on a hill surrounded by trees. And it's substantial, isn't it? And it represents his security and his protection from this distraught figure. And, you know, he's not saying that this is very comforting right now, and, you know, the stability of its thick walls. He'd rather be outside, exposed and vulnerable. So he may have to run from this castle and all it holds and what it represents for him, and alienate himself from everything and everyone he once knew and cared for. We know this. Sometimes people walk out of their lives, whether it's temporary or whether it's permanent. So this guy has done that, and he may now regret it and cannot think of a way to make it right. We don't know. All we can see is it's deeply affected. And the castle may have felt more like a prison. We don't know that either. You know, we don't know. I'll go home, go across, you know. It's not the place it wants to be. We don't know. We don't know. So we mustn't presume. There's a lot going on with this card that could be this, could be that, could be the other. The surrounding cards in your spread will help you. The placement of where it is will help you. Your pairs, which I support you with on Tuesdays, will help you. So on the other hand, he might be driven out or thrown out. He might be banished or even exiled from the castle. Maybe it's something he's said or done. So you see, when we're mourning the loss, it's not we've always been the one that's been left behind. It might have been that, you know, we were told to leave because something we did. We don't know. One way or another, he knows he may have burned his bridges. Again, another word or sentence that applies to the bridge that you've probably heard many times before. Water under the bridge now. Won't go down that road. You know, people say that. Oh, you've burned your bridges. That means you can't get back. You know? So it might be exactly what he wanted, to escape. But then he might be full of regret and would do anything to turn the clock back. There's so many maybes with this card. It's a very complex emotional fallout, and that's why we mustn't be quick to jump to conclusions or assumptions, you know. He may be the instigator. Doesn't mean he's not been affected. Doesn't mean he's not sorry if he was. At the end of the day, life has changed for better or worse, and he's suffered death of some kind, hasn't he? And all deaths, whether consciously or subconsciously, will bring a period of mourning. And that can be really hard for us to understand because of human nature. We tend to want to destroy anything that's caused us change in our life. You know, I want to fight you, I want to stop you, I want to this, you know. That's how we can be because of the upheaval and the upset. So, you know, as we look at the Three of Cups that's strewn on the ground, we've got to look at the fact that the figure might have held them, might have been angry. Emotions might have been running high at the time. We don't know. We've got to look outside of the possibilities. There is a reason for sometimes why people feel a sense of deep mourning. He may have uncovered lies, deceit, he might have reacted impulsively. So we mustn't jump to any conclusions in a reading. We look at where it is, as I said, and what's going on around in the spread and what the pair's telling you. Who is it? Okay. And the figure might want to stay there forever, willing that the Three of Cups stand up again, become upright. But the contents will evaporate until they are no more. So that's the harsh reality and consequence of what's happened. So when the Five of Cups comes up in a reading, your current has been through a very traumatic time of some sort of nature, or a bereavement, a loss. And traditionally, you know, we wear black as a mark of respect, but it's to do with the fact that sometimes it's about our shock. We grieve, you know, we're in disbelief, and we're sorry, and we're angry, then we withdraw, and we shut down, and slow acceptance. Then we go into recovery, and then we go back to a new life, a new regular. Wouldn't call it normal, because what is normal, but you know, a new regular routine. And so the two remaining upright cups have long-standing associations with the fact that it can be connected to somebody leaves us something. When they leave us, you know, I left you a present, I left you a legacy, I left you a will, I left you a gift, that kind of thing. So always remember that as well. And the Five often suggests that this is just, it's a loss, and that nothing will be the same again. And that's hard to face. So, you know, it's about the fact impermanence, isn't it? Life never stays as it is. Good times roll and come and go, and so do people. And cups experience loss much harder than any of the other suits, because it's all from the heart, it's all about the emotions. So, you know, that's your three signs, as in Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces. So, water babies. Why? You know, I always say to people very simply, if you take a tumbler of water, like I've got here, and I don't know where my crystal is now. I moved it, tidying up. Okay, let's use the pen. So if you've got the water, and you put the pen in the water, which I'm not going to do, quite simply, the water expands to make way for the object that's in it, i.e. if it's a stone or whatever it is that I put in there, like my crystal. And so water signs are always, they've been affected because the pen goes into the water. If it was a stone, I want you to understand that. And if it was a stone is earth. And just runs off the stone, doesn't it? Water. So some people deal with things differently. They're more earthed. And when somebody's more earthed, it probably doesn't affect them as deeply and as emotionally as the three signs, Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces. Right. So when we're hurt and distressed, our heart feels that pain, and we just feel like it's being ripped out of our chest, don't we? So we've all got to accept that sometimes we get losses in our life, and we will not deal with it very well. But we've got to trust that the universe will replace our loss with something of worth and something of real value once we are ready and prepared to let go. But that's easier said than done. Like the two remaining cups, there's always something worth living for, always something left to fight for, and we just need to learn from our loss and grow. Pain's inevitable, but long-term suffering is optional. There's a time for mourning, and there's a time for moving on. Okay, everybody, I'm going to say I made it a little bit shorter tonight. Something went wrong with all my scenes, so I can't really play you anything. I can play you the podcast, which is Thursday's podcast, just to show you. You see my card. I told you something went wrong with my scenes. So, yeah, my podcast, and that's the playlist. Yeah. And I'm going to say thank you very much, and I do hope you have a really beautiful week. Don't forget, we are in the time of Cancer, and we can be emotional too. So while we're doing the cups, we probably feel it more because of the time of Cancer and the fact that it's all about our emotions connecting to everything. Okay, I'm going to play you out, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.